Hi, PJ Scott here with Veterans Forum, your Navy Waves veteran Vietnam era. And as you can tell from the set, yes, I'm visiting my family in beautiful, sunny Fresno. It's been kind of dreary up in Washington, so I picked a good time to come down and visit. Before we get started with today's show, I have a couple of tips. Veterans, if you're World War II or a veteran of the Korean War, please get the Veterans Administration pamphlet for benefits for veterans and families. You will discover something called a pension. And if your income is such, you might be able to get a pension from the Veterans Administration if you meet their criteria. There's an age limit there, and I don't know what it is, but I'm sure that all World War IIers and most, if not all, Korean War veterans would be eligible, depending on your income, for that pension. It could make a real difference in your life. You served, go get those benefits. Also, I've talked recently to some vets, and I've been reminded of this recently, and I've said this a couple of times, but folks, I've been on TV now for 9 years, and I can't obviously keep repeating the same information. As a member of the American Legion, Disabled American Veterans, and the Blind Veterans Association, occasionally I run into men and I encourage them to join a veteran service organization, and they claim they're not a veteran, but they were in the military. There are some poor souls out there who think they're not a veteran if they did not serve in combat. If you know someone who's a veteran, or you have a veteran in your family, I never went to Vietnam. As close as I got to Vietnam was North Island, San Diego. If you stood up and you swore to protect this country and its Constitution, you served honorably, you got a discharge, you were a veteran. So you earned those benefits. Go look and see how the VA can help you. And please don't feel like you're taking something. Those are earned benefits. You've earned them. Go seek them out. Now, today's program is going to be about the San Joaquin Valley Veterans. However, I am sure just about every county, community has something very much like we're going to discuss today. They'll just call it something different. My guests today are Elizabeth and Vince. And Elizabeth, introduce yourself with your title of your office.
Sure. Elizabeth Vasquez. I'm the Director of Veteran Services at San Joaquin Valley Veterans, a project of WestCare.
Okay, and Vince?
Vince Garcia, Marine Corps veteran, and I'm a vet advocate for the veterans at San Joaquin Valley Veterans.
Okay, and I am sure, people, that there are entities with other names doing essentially the same thing. Now tell us, since San Joaquin Valley Vets is kind of umbrellaed by WestCare. Tell us a little bit about the parent, if we could call it that, of San Joaquin Valley Vets. What's WestCare all about?
WestCare is a nonprofit, has a big presence here in California. We do primarily health and human services, such as substance abuse treatment, mental health services, a lot of housing, shelters, domestic violence. Really, it's a very big umbrella. WestCare is also present in other states here in the United States. So, kind of the same mission and goal is to serve those who are traditionally underserved.
Good. And Vince, you went in the Marine Corps. And thank you for your service. What years did you serve?
I served from December of 2001 till January of 06.
Oh, wow. Thank you. And you have a lot of veterans in your family, do you not?
Yeah, I have a grandfather who's in the Army. My father was in the Marines. I have a bunch of cousins who've served at random here and there through various services. So I got a little history from each branch of service.
Well, as do I. We're heavy Navy, but my dad, as I told you, was a Marine, and had a stepfather who was Air Force. So veterans are veterans. It doesn't matter what branch of service. There's not benefits just for Army or just for Navy. As far as veterans benefits go, Coast Guard, and now Army National Guard, which we didn't used to until this current war, think of them quite like that. Now, you come from a family of a lot of veterans too, do you not, Elizabeth?
I do. My father was in the Marines, served in Vietnam. My mother-in-law was a nurse as well in Vietnam.
Oh, wow.
My father-in-law was in the Navy, and I have 3 uncles who were also.
Now, is your mother-in-law still with us on planet Earth?
She is.
I'd love to interview her sometime. We'll talk after
Absolutely,
the show.
yes.
Well, I have met women who did serve in Vietnam, but we're far and few between. And as I said, I never went to Vietnam. So tell us how WestCare saw the need for vets and how San Joaquin Valley Vets got started.
Right. Well, in 2004, there were several veteran organizations that worked closely with the VA, the local VA, and recognized, in the local vet center, and recognized that there were some gaps in services. Got together, decided that a drop-in center was one of those gaps, some place that a lot of the veterans who are local, maybe homeless, might need some immediate drop-in services such as help with getting their DD-214s, their IDs, snacks throughout the day, have homelessness and hunger issues.
Right.
And so they got together, started this very grassroots San Joaquin Valley Veteran Organization. And WestCare came along, and it fit right in with WestCare's mission.
Okay. So so San Joaquin Valley kind of started independently.
That's right.
But WestCare thought, oh, cool, this was a good partnership here.
Yeah, it was a very good partnership because that initial organization, that grassroots organization, really struggled along with funding, but through the kindness of a lot of big hearts here in Fresno and the Central Valley, got a lot of donations. And it was a good fit because WestCare was able to get some grant funding. And
Probably since they were already nonprofit, they were much more savvy about how to go about that as well.
The business mind was there, and
Right.
and a presence in the community was there. So
And so
it worked out
they've
well.
been here since 2004? Okay. And what is, Vince, I don't know who I should ask, what is the typical, why do veterans come to see you? When they come through the door, what are they asking you primarily?
Well, let's see. We've got a number of projects there at San Joaquin Valley Veterans, but for the most part, the word of mouth is it's a safe haven. It's a nice place to be. We've got a living room with a TV. They watch videos. We've got a computer lab. We help with bus passes. But like I said, we have some actual funded projects that are very specific. So funded by the city of Fresno, we're able to help veterans get temporary financial assistance for housing. So if they're if they're homeless and they're in need of finding a place, we have a case manager that works closely
so while
with them.
they're very comfortable in this living room you were talking about, you do not house them there. They cannot spend the night. Is that what I'm hearing?
No, it's just a drop-in center, kind of a open door from 8 to 5.
Okay, now Vince, tell us when you dropped in and what were you seeking? What were you looking for?
I had heard through the office word of mouth, just like any other veterans, and I got put on that they help with employment. And at that time, I was unemployed. I had been out for going on 3 years and never heard of, the office. So I went down, just like most of the veterans come in to our office to seek help for employment. And my case manager, who is now my coworker, she kind of directed me into wanting to become a substance abuse counselor, and WestCare offered a KDAC program, which you become a licensed substance abuse counselor through the state of California. So that, was probably the first step that I took in, a career after, being into the Marines. And, one thing led to another. I ended up doing a fellowship with the Mission Continues, which allowed me to serve my country, but on the home front instead of, overseas, due to my service connection. And I volunteered at the office for about 3 months until a position opened that I applied for. And now I'm a case manager working there at the office.
Now let me ask a question. I have told people repeatedly, in fact, my adjutant at my post in Washington, and he's also on my Veterans Forum board, he was a vet rep for decades in Bremerton, Washington, and I'd have him on occasionally, and he'd bring vets who were looking for employment. Is there not a vet rep at the California Unemployment Office here in Fresno, or are they, like many other areas, overwhelmed?
There are vet reps, but at the unemployment office, it's for everybody, so veterans don't have preference, which kind of comes in positive for us because we do have a grant that's part of the unemployment office, but ours are veteran specific. So I think that's where veterans coming to our office to look for work is more beneficial, because they don't have to compete with just a regular civilian. It's just strictly veterans. But veterans do have the choice to go to either program. But once they come into our office and see how our services operate and how much more beneficial going through our program is, they usually stick with us.
Now, Elizabeth, you'd probably have better numbers. Just off the top of your head, I don't expect an exact number. Approximately how many vets a month walk into your office? They're looking for a job.
Close to 400.
Really?
Well, it varies. Their needs. First, they'll come to us knowing that they need a place to live.
Right.
And it's okay. Now I've got a place to lay my head, and now I need a job.
Right.
So they'll come in for various reasons, but we encourage all of them to take advantage of all the services that we have there under that roof.
Right. Now, which service do you feel is the most challenging, but perhaps the most rewarding as well?
Well, I would say probably our housing project at this point. Of course, VA has a goal of eliminating veteran homelessness.
Right.
And so we at San Joaquin Valley Veterans have taken a hold of that, and we've really tried to fill that gap. It is rewarding because within, they'll walk through the door, and within a couple of weeks they'll be jumping for joy that they've found a place and they're getting assistance, and we help them with their money. Now, Vincent might have a different story. He works directly under our Department of Employment Development project. It's our WIA grant, and so he focuses on getting them jobs.
Yeah, I kind of approach it with the mind of what the veteran needs. That's going to get them to the point. When a vet walks in, I ask him, okay, well, what do you want to do? Now, if he just says, well, I need a job, and that's it. We're like, well, where are you living? So I kind of start playing, investigating a little bit, because there's obviously something. If he's been unemployed for a certain amount of time, there might be some hurdles that he can't quite get past that's preventing him from finding employment. So we kind of start from the beginning and kind of walk them through the steps. If it's just they don't know how to write a proper resume or how to apply online,
right.
We kind of assess that right off the beginning, and just having a simple conversation. And it's just really, it's up to us to kind of pinpoint what services that they need, and we kind of basically just go from there. Every situation's different. A vet might come in where he does have a job, but he just needs help with some extra training, or help with purchasing equipment or housing and stuff like that. So it just really depends on where the veteran's at in his point in his life.
Now, you have a person you contact because I was a very patriotic young woman in '70, but I wanted that GI Bill. I could just smack my lips. I wanted that college, and by God, I was going to get it, and I did. Do you link with the city college and the university? Do some of your people actually want to further their, and even realize that they can further their education?
Yeah, I've kind of been, I guess, labeled the GI Bill guy, because I've been going to school using the GI Bill, and I switched, for a couple of different schools. So when the vets come in and they have questions about the GI Bill, I usually kind of just, hey, you need to go online and apply for here. You got to have a school code, and you have to have your education plan set in place before you even send in for your benefits, because they won't pay you unless you have a counselor and and all that. So it just kind of coach them through the steps, and if they have any questions, I'm always available to answer any questions that they have.
Now, what, Elizabeth, is the average time that a veteran does not have to rely on your services to have a home for himself? And I don't know, I shouldn't assume this. Some of these vets have a wife and kids.
That's right.
Do you help them as well?
Absolutely.
Okay, I figured you did, but I wanted to make that plain to the audience. At what point, what is the average stay for a veteran to kind of get his act together, decide if he's going to school, going to get a job that he feels secure enough to leave and get their own place?
It really does vary. To be very honest, if the question is how quickly do they feel, they've got a place to stay and they don't need San Joaquin Valley Veterans, that's hard because they still come through our doors. They make very good connections with some of the other veterans in our staff. And so whether it's, talking to fellow veterans, they still come through the door. We have a very, like I said, it's a primary goal is to get veterans off the streets.
Yes.
Get them sheltered. So we act very quickly. In fact, this project, it's the HPRP program. It's funded through American Reinvestment and Recovery Act monies. So immediately when they walk through the door, I would say within the next month they are in an apartment.
Okay.
And they're getting financial assistance. A case manager's working with them to budget their money, save their money. And if they have, you know, it's for those who have very low income.
Right.
So our case manager will help them to find out what benefits they might have missed that they would be eligible for.
Well, while they're waiting to, well, you tell me, I imagine there could be a bit of a wait time before you can get the vet in a hotel while we're waiting for an apartment. Where does a man and his family go eat dinner, lunch, breakfast? And if there's kids that need to be enrolled in school.
Yeah. Our case managers are very knowledgeable about the community services that are happening there. The project also helps those who are at risk of homelessness. So that's where we normally see the veteran and the veteran family. They're in an apartment. They've got 3-day notice to be evicted, and we act very quickly. Within a couple of days, they've got a place. We have snacks, and we get a lot of donations for food, and we get microwaves and furniture and clothing and anything and everything they need. We scramble to make that fit.
Even for the children?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, we have vouchers that we give for Catholic Charities, Salvation Army. They can go there and receive, like, you know, a bundle of food, you know, whatever really the needs, whatever the veterans have. And it's just a paper that we sign and stamp. They take down there and they're provided with anything that they need.
And sometimes it's just a matter of them feeling good about themselves. We do vouchers for haircuts. We have a relationship with one of the local schools for do hair, and so we'll give them a voucher. They'll go get a clean shave and a haircut. And
Now, do I assume that you, because every county is different, but I'm living in Kitsap County, and we have what we call the Kitsap County Veterans Advisory Board. And on that advisory board is members from the American Legion, Veterans of Foreign War, DAV. There's a lot of concerned people in regard to veterans, and once a month they get together and discuss all these various issues. Is there some kind of board where you meet with the greater community in Fresno County to keep them apprised of what's going on and what your needs are?
yeah, and well, like I said, San Joaquin Valley Veterans started with those veteran organizations, the VA and folks,
Right.
so they're still very connected to our organization. They're,
Good.
We are involved in a VEC committee, as well as a committee that puts the local stand down together.
Right.
A lot of big hearts. These folks really have.
Well, I'm a believer
you know,
in maintaining relationships because this is going to be an ongoing issue. And when a vet, particularly a combat vet, suddenly finds himself at home, it's like cultural whiplash. It has to be. I think it was strange if it wasn't. That it could take him some time to reboot himself in this new reality called home.
Right.
You know, we even have a project. It's a research project funded through the National Center of Family Homelessness. And you mentioned coming home and what are those issues that some of our servicemen and women deal with. This project is it's a psychoeducational, so they can participate in a 10-week class where they're learning skills on how to communicate better with whoever their relationship might be, with significant other, a family member.
Right.
And it's catered towards those who might have PTSD issues or just any issue that might have come up during their time of service. I mean, it's a great project. A lot of our veterans have taken advantage of it, but we're hoping to continue it, model it into other communities.
Well, you know, I'm sure that you two know this, but when maybe some in our audience is not fully sensitive to this, when you lose an arm or a leg or your vision, you can be angry. You can be angry, and then you kind of grieve because you've lost something. And that can take time to recover from. How many people do you get that are in kind of that mode that they've lost an arm or a leg, or and they're you know, there's great prosthetics out there. There are, I know that, but that's I'm a big believer that you do need a little time to vent and grieve that, but at some point you need to get on with your life.
Well, I think that's the benefit of this drop-in center. It really is. It's a place for them, like I said, a safe haven. They all can share and learn from each other and kind of get that support.
Yeah, I've rarely come across that sort of situation. I think for a vet to walk through our door, they had to at some point realize that their life's not going in the direction they want. So that's like,
or they wouldn't be there.
Exactly.
Yeah. I gotcha.
And along the way, if if that's something that, like myself or one of the case managers or another vet, they're real quick to point it out to, like, hey, something's wrong. I think someone needs to talk to this vet. It's a real close-knit family within the office, even if it's your first time, or guys, there's a handful of guys that come on a regular basis. So, I mean, there's always somebody that you can rely on for help, or just somebody to talk to.
Good. Well, we're going to be closing here in a few minutes, but I would be remiss, being a woman veteran, not to ask about women veterans going through your doors. You do see them, you can provide for them.
We do, and in fact, we do have a VA project that is a women's transitional home for homeless women. It's called Homefront, located here in Fresno.
Okay.
So women and their children. It's been a very good project, and certainly I think we would like to see more of the women come through the doors, but at this point the majority happen to be the men.
Well,
veterans.
most veterans are men.
Yeah.
There's no question about that.
Yeah.
But we women do exist. Now, before we sign off here, tell us your address and where you're located for the community here in Fresno and the greater San Joaquin Valley.
Yep.
Where are you located?
We're located at 4928 East Clinton Way, near the airport, near the Fresno airport. Cross streets are Winery and Clinton.
And your business hours?
8 to 5.
Monday through Friday?
Monday through Friday, yes. Our local number, 559-255-8838.
Well, thank you. And thank you, Elizabeth, for all you're doing to help vets. And Vince, God bless you for your service and both your families. Tell them I
Thank
said
you.
God bless all your service members. And thank you for continuing to help vets. Now remember, there's an organization in your community much like here. You might have to do some digging in the newspaper or ask around. If you're a vet, God bless you. See you next time.